survival. You see yourself in a survival situation?
Yeah, a little bit of general survival, maybe in a pinch, I'm not looking for a machete, but maybe in a pinch, a little bit of like brush clearing if we really had to.
Well, big time, guys. When Ryan came with us camping and pulled out his knife, Rick and I both wondered what pig we were getting ready to stick.
Big time, guys. Welcome back to the channel. Today with us is Big Time Ryan, and he's in the market for a new fixed blade knife. So we thought we would take the opportunity to talk about some of the criteria we think about when we're buying a knife. So today we'll start with the shape of the blade, but in coming weeks we'll go over the grind. That's the shape of the bit that does the cutting, the edge. We'll talk about the steel, that's the makeup of the blade, and then the overall size and handling. Hopefully coming to the end with some sort of conclusion of what Big Time Ryan is going to go out and spend his money on for our amusement. So stay tuned.
Really looking forward to it. Should be a good series.
Yeah.
I have a lot of folding knives, but fewer fixed blade knives. So
Well, you gotta start somewhere.
really looking forward to finding one that's right for me.
Now, big time, Ryan, part of the reason you're here is because me and Rick kind of saw your fixed blade knife and feel like it doesn't really meet a camping purpose. Can you tell us what you're looking to do out with this fixed blade?
Yeah, I think I want something for, general work around kind of the campsite. So whether that's, cutting rope and things like that, maybe, batoning some wood and doing some work like that. But, just general camping and outdoors use, hacking at a few things, maybe not so much stabbing, which is maybe what my, current setup is a bit more for.
Well, maybe we introduce the viewers to what your current setup is.
Sure.
Big time, Ryan, talk to us about your current knife.
Well, this was something I picked up because it was on sale. It was cheap. It looked like a lot of fun. Maybe not a practical choice, but certainly a fun one.
I think it's fun depending on what side of this knife interaction you're on.
That's very fair.
Yeah, and so, big time, guys, starting with blade shape, this is what we refer to as a dagger. And a dagger has cutting edges on both the top and the bottom. And what a dagger is really good for is stabbing things. Like people, pigs, stabbing things.
I think Colin Farrell could tell you what it feels like to go through his hand.
Jeremy Renner, SWAT.
You're the SWAT or you're not.
And ironically, Big Time's Ryan knife is an HRT Smith & Wesson. That stands for Hostage Rescue Team. Now, if the hostage rescue team was bringing this knife in, I wouldn't want to be a hostage.
I don't think I would
You think
either.
they throw them at, they're like, we shouldn't take the shot, right? Like, if I had you here, Ryan, you want to throw it at me?
I don't want you to throw it
I don't think
anywhere.
we should try that.
No, don't throw it anywhere.
Anyway, maybe this has a place on a hostage rescue team.
Not anyone that I want to be near, but I appreciate it.
It doesn't have a place in the woods. So daggers, they're great for fighting, but maybe not the woods. So the first kind of more woodsy knife, although still kind of a fighting knife we're going to talk about from a blade shape point of view, is the clip point. And the clip point, the spine kind of comes down at an angle. This clip point right here, you might think of your classic K-bar. And so, yeah, Big Time Ryan, take a feel of that bad boy.
It's pretty nice, right?
Yeah, it's pretty heavy. It's pretty solid.
Yeah.
Still has a nice point, but maybe not quite as extreme as the dagger there.
And these clip point knives, they can be really good outdoor knives, just depending on how extreme that angle is. The classic one that we all think about, another military knife, is the K-bar.
Absolutely.
And so the clip point the K-bar has been featured. We don't have one here, but it's been featured in probably every military movie, Full Metal Jacket, Saving Private Ryan, every one you can think of. But this Morakniv Garberg, which is one of the most classic bushcraft knives, this has a much shallower clip point, and it is a clip point, but it's people really like this knife with the clip point design. So clip points don't have to be for fighting. We just know that many popular ones are. So I think a clip point is something you should consider. The next blade shape we're going to look at is the classic Bowie knife.
Immediately distinguishable.
It reminds you of a clip point, but it definitely has a little bit more, what would you say, aggressive approach? Pizzazz, yeah. And so,
there's one. Not
to be confused with the Bowie knife.
Ooh.
You know him?
David Bowie.
David Bowie. This is the Bowie knife.
That's a knife for dancing.
This is the old, the knife that was down at the Alamo. Some classic movies along with the Bowie knife would be Rambo.
Rambo
has a very large Bowie
Rambo
knife.
has sold more of these knives than anybody else, I bet.
And then Big Time Rick's favorite Australian has a Bowie knife.
That's not a knife. That'd be Crocodile Dundee made that one pretty famous.
Pretty famous. So it's a decent knife for outdoors. It's a little more aggressive than the clip point. You could go with one. You wouldn't be wrong. It probably just wouldn't be what I would carry.
Yeah, it's kind of an old-fashioned shape at this point.
So I was gonna say it feels a little old-fashioned. Feels, still nice, but very, very classic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that brings us on to one of the more traditional knives, which is the drop point. And this right here is a very large drop point.
I wouldn't want to drop that one.
Oh my goodness.
And you can see how the blade kind of from the spine meets the edge, and you can see the drop point of the blade. And so
drops off.
this guy right here is a really good bushcraft knife. Check that thing out. The drop point
You wouldn't need to go to the gym with that one. That's
has
for
a
sure.
strong
Heavy,
tip. You can open up game with it. This one has a 90-degree spine. Does well with processing wood. A drop point is a really nice blade shape that does kind of all around. I think of it as an all round blade.
Talk to me a little bit about. So this seems pretty similar to a clip point, but a little different. Is it just because it's really curved and drops off a little further?
Yeah, exactly. That one's probably in between. That one's kind of in between a clip point and a drop point. This one right here, you can see it really starts to drop off, and it doesn't have that.
Yeah.
That's kind of that flat edge, right? So like that's another good example. All right. So that's very traditional.
Mm-hmm.
The spear point is the next blade shape we want to talk about. And this guy right here is a spear point. What this is, it's symmetrical on the bottom and the top, but unlike your dagger, the top is not sharp. You want to show that to the camera there?
Yeah, it's like a one-sided dagger, right?
It is like a one-sided dagger. I don't know what movies really have the spear point in them.
I can't think of one. I mean,
But a lot of throwing knives are kind of shaped spear pointish.
I mean, I think it's a beautiful looking shape, but I can't think of a movie that's put it in yet.
It's better at piercing, and you know what I mean by piercing, your favorite thing, which is that stabbing, than the drop point. And they're great knives. You just have to decide, do you like this or do you like that? But the spear point, pretty good blade shape as well.
What's next?
Next, we've got on the table Rufus's favorite, which is the sheep's foot. And the sheep's foot blade, you're going to understand why I like this.
How could you tell?
The end of it is nice and curved here, right? And that's not sharp. And the reason I like the sheep's foot is because it's kind of blunt and you're not going to stab yourself.
You're not going to stab yourself? Or anybody else?
Or anybody else. So not so good at piercing, but pretty safe. And so I like them. They're great in the water because, things, you're on a boat or something. They're really nice.
Are they good for working and processing sheep's foot?
You could probably process some sheep's foot, although I've never eaten one myself. But that's a really, they're just great because you got to be careful. Like you're not as likely to cut yourself with this thing.
Yeah, well, it seems like you get a really nice big flat edge to do a lot of work.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. So sheep's foot, really good options. Probably my favorite. Big time guys. What blade shape do you think Ryan should go with? You tell us in the comments, but when you come back, we'll be talking about that grind. Join us next time. Like and subscribe. Thank you.